Today we're back on the Am I the A-hole subreddit, and it's going to be so fun. It's always an adventure on this subreddit, and I hope you're excited, guys. Thank you again for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful time. Am I the a-hole for telling my son that he can't stay with me when I found out why his wife kicked him out? My daughter-in-law is pregnant with my first grandchild. She's suffering from placenta previa. She's on bed rest. It would be dangerous for her to have the horizontal mumbo. So my a-hole son decided that he would cheat? What? She found out and she kicked him out of the house. He came to stay with us because she was having crazy pregnancy hormones. Every time he called her, they would fight, and after a couple of days, we told him to go see if she calmed down. Her mummy stayed with them, so we weren't worried about her. My wife called her to check in on her and found out the truth. I'm very upset. When I got home from work, I told him he needed to get out of my house. He wasn't someone I wanted to associate with at the moment, and it would be best if he wasn't near me. My wife tried to say that I was being too hard on him, that I should just give him a chance to work things out. Yeah, but they're actively ruining their relationship. They're not working stuff out. I can't even look at him. I don't want such a stupid boy in my house. My wife and I are still fighting about it, but I'm willing to die on this hill. No, you're not the a-hole. Like this comment says, not the a-hole. You have respect for your daughter-in-law and you have strong morals of knowing right from wrong. Looks like your son never inherited them. Like, that's revolting, and there are consequences for revolting behavior. Yeah, they're gonna have stuff to work out. Work out if they'll ever be able to trust them ever again, and probably not. And yeah, like this comment says, my wife tried to say that I was being too hard on him. Ask her if she would feel the same way if you were the one cheating on her while she was pregnant. Yeah, 100%. Am I the a-hole for making my daughter miss once-in-a-lifetime events, homecoming and senior prom, and delete all of her social media as punishment for bullying? Yesterday, I was informed that my daughter Sam was a part of a group of students who bullied another girl to the point that she had to switch schools. There was a racial aspect to the bullying which came as a complete shock, since my wife and I truly did our best to raise our 3 kids to be kind and honest individuals. I don't believe that a grounding and a confiscation of electronics is harsh enough for what they did, so I told Sam that she won't be allowed to participate in homecoming or attend senior prom. I also told her that she won't be getting a car for her 18th birthday either. Finally, I told her that she'll have to delete all of her social media accounts with either me or her mum watching. Sam begged me to allow her to go to senior prom because it's a once-in-a-lifetime event, and to keep just her Instagram account because it had pictures going back years and they weren't saved anywhere else. I told her that she shouldn't have been a racist bully. My parents are temporarily staying with us while their house is undergoing renovations. They agree that what Sam did was completely out of line and must be punished, but they think that making my daughter miss homecoming and senior prom and forcing her to delete her social media is far, far too harsh. Yeah, this comment's good. What if you gave the possibility of earning things back? The point of punishing her is for her to learn from this to become a better person. Often the best impetus for change is when people see that you change and reward you for it. So tell her that homecoming is gone, but if she genuinely learns from this and shows that she's a better person, she might be able to earn senior prom. She has to show real change and understanding. She's got to do something that will really drive home for her how much harm she's done and how wrong her actions have been. The person she is today, that person doesn't go to prom, but a kinder person who chooses to be a force for good in the world, a person who plans and helps and supports instead of tearing down, yeah, that girl could go to prom. She just has to make a plan with you about how she demonstrates that she's that person. The right kind of volunteering, like homeless outreach or Big Brother, Big Sisters, might help break down her walls and start seeing people as people instead of things to manipulate again. Might teach her some empathy. If it's affordable for you, working with a therapist who specializes in bullying, both to counsel her and to build her roadmap to redemption, would be an excellent idea. Let her download her Instagram pictures before you make her delete the account. There's a balance to that. She doesn't have to give up her only copy of important pictures, but she loses the online presence. Not the a-hole, but I think there are more effective things you can do than creating this big punishment that you can't back down from. Yeah, pretty much every single comment is not the a-hole. And yeah, actions have consequences. You know, it's the same as the last one. Definitely not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for charging my friends rent then keeping the money for myself? This will be my first year in college. When I got accepted, the first person I told was my uncle. We're very close because he took care of me when I was little because my parents had crazy work schedules. Anyway, my grades were good enough to get me in, but not enough to get me any scholarships. That means I'll have to take out loans for tuition and work for my expenses. When my uncle found out, he said I should just concentrate on school instead of working, but my dad, his brother, said that money is tight right now, so my parents can't help me out as much as they want to. My uncle has investment properties all over the place, so he said it's not a big deal for him to buy another one near my campus, which he did, and then he had contractors renovate the house so everything in there is brand new. He even had them install a bay window in the master bedroom just for me, and I got to pick out everything else like the carpet and the counters. He told me that he wants me to concentrate on school and not work. Instead, I can be his landlady and rent out the other 3 bedrooms and keep that money to fund my expenses. I have a group of friends who are attending the same school, so I made a deal with them. Studio apartments are going between $900 and $1,500, not including utilities, around the campus, with the expensive ones being closer. My uncle's house is 1 street over from the campus, so I can literally walk to class every day. I'm charging my friends $700 per room, or if they double up, $350 per person, per month, and split utilities evenly. They all jumped at the offer, and no one asked me any questions until recently, when one of them asked how much the overall rent was. I was honest, and I told them about my uncle and our deal. That blew up in my face, because now every one of my friends are calling me greedy for charging them rent. What? And then pocketing the money? We're all in a huge fight, and they all want to either pay nothing or throw a couple of $100 in for utilities. Wow, what do you mean? I cried to my uncle, but he said now that I'm an adult, I need to make my own adult decision. He'll stand by my decision. I don't want to lose my friends, but I don't want to disappoint my family with bad grades either. I thought I was being fair with rent, but literally all of my friends are calling me a greedy a-hole. Yeah, but that's because they don't understand. Update, thank you for reading my post and giving me advice. I went to my uncle this time without crying, and I told him some of the advice given on here and asked him for his advice. This time he didn't tell me to make my own adult decisions and told me that he was waiting for this conversation. This is what we agreed to do. I texted all of my friends, or former friends, and I told them because of the arguments and hurt feelings, we can no longer live together. My uncle offered to work out a lease for me in the beginning, but I refused because they were my friends. Because no one signed a lease, we didn't have to break any. I was worried about them suing, but my uncle said that the law in our state requires anything to do with real estate to be in writing. Unlike other situations, real estate deals cannot be oral, so I'm good. This time I took him up on the offer of creating a lease for me to have new tenants sign. We spent the morning researching rent prices and making ads. My friends and I made the agreement at the beginning of summer. Now that there's only a couple of weeks left until school starts, we found almost nothing within 3 miles of the campus. There were some options further out, but nothing was cheaper than $1,200 for a shared room, and that was an old house with window AC units and 5 miles from campus. When the house was being renovated, my uncle had central air and heating installed. We came to a rent price of $1,300 and placed ads in several places, including Facebook. Within an hour, I got dozens of messages. It's 4 p.m. now, and I literally have over 100 messages. Many of them don't even need to see the house in person. Based off the pictures and location, they want to submit their application today. Some even offered to send me the deposit, and one person said that her dad will pay me the full semester amount today. My uncle gave me some advice that was exactly what you guys said. Never mix money with friends, or I might lose both, and never tell anybody my business. He told me not to lie, but just keep quiet. Thanks again, and have a great weekend, you wonderful people. Yeah, 1000%. Like the top comment says, you're not the a-hole. They're getting a great deal, but instead of focusing on that, they're seething with envy. Your uncle didn't buy and renovate that home so that your jealous friends could have a free place to live. He invested in that home so you could have a place to stay and an income while you're in school. Don't back down, OP. Your friends aren't entitled to a free roof over their heads just because you have one. Yeah, 100%. So entitled. And like, yeah, they're just gonna go somewhere else and have to pay even more money. Yeah, definitely not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife that it's time that she went back to work? Throwaway account because my wife follows my main. My wife has been out of work since 2018. She had a mental breakdown during her 5th year of teaching. She's been going to therapy since, and we started marriage counseling during COVID. Reason for marriage counseling was because she thought I was pushing her too hard to go back to work before her and her therapist thought she was ready. I tried to explain many times that was not my intent, but realistically speaking, for me to keep up with expenses and retirement contributions, I pretty much have to take on extra shifts, which sometimes clock in at over 18 hours a day, and on average I've been pulling 84-hour weeks. I've been doing this since she stopped working. We recently had a fight because I had an extremely rough week and had a conversation again about her going back to work. She opened up with the same line that she always does. We don't feel that it's the right time yet. She feels I've made great progress, and if I rush it, I run the risk of losing it. The we being her and her therapist. I told her I really don't give a damn what her therapist has to say, and I'm sick of you hiding behind her words whenever this topic comes up. She started to cry, telling me that she doesn't like being this way either, and I'm belittling her due to suffering from mental health issues. I replied saying I don't intend to belittle you or not to take your issues seriously. The problem is I'm running myself ragged. And what happens if I have a mental break? Do you think I'll have the luxury of not working? No, I'll have to push through my demons. She said her therapist warned her that this would happen sooner or later, that I'd try to manipulate her into doing something that she wasn't ready to do. This is when I really lost it, and I just let it all out. I didn't say anything kind. I told her that she insults me for thinking what I'm doing is manipulation. I told her I'm working these extra shifts so that she can be at home and BS playing games. I told her during this entire time you haven't made a single effort to improve on certain skills. I told her that she still can't cook to save her life, and that I was sick of coming home after 12 or 18-hour days just to make us dinner because her idea of making dinner is pretty much a pre-made in the oven or ordering out. Among other things, that said, she stormed out of the house crying and yelling and shouting how I'm a piece of crap and would rather see myself comfortable versus her getting better. So here I am. I don't feel at the core that I'm wrong. And while what I said was harsh, I think it did have to be said. So Reddit, was I the a-hole here? Hey, I appreciate the replies. I'm going to leave a quick update to answer and clarify what I can. I apologize if I missed something. Thanks nonetheless. Yes, I have been to a couple of sessions with my wife and her therapist. To be honest, it largely felt that I was getting ganged up on. My wife brought up how I was always tired, so I explained that I'm working harder to maintain our home. When I suggested part-time work would allow me to work less, their counter suggestion was to cut things like saving for retirement and hold off on paying debt and tackle such things after my wife gets better. Then I suggested renting out the house to cover the mortgage, and we downsized to an apartment. Her therapist said such a drastic change to her environment could have a negative impact on her depression and advised us against such major life-changing events. During another session, she brought up how my suggestion that she tries cooking to save money so we don't order so much, she felt insulted because in terms of money coming in, I'm making slightly more than our combined income, and she was able to cover her expenses, so she doesn't understand why we're having such a hard time. I was honest, it has less to do with money per se, and more so the fact of the amount of hours I have to work to maintain the income. I told her I pretty much am working 2 full-time jobs. The cooking or doing things around the house was dropped fairly quickly, and then they became a critic on how I can't manage money since I'm making more, yet I never had issues when she was working with how she spent. More or less every session became what I could do to help my wife, and I get it, her therapist has to look out for my wife, and generally my concerns are small compared to my wife's. My wife isn't a huge fan of our marriage counselor because she offers suggestions that go against her therapist. My friend has also suggested that I speak to a lawyer to see what my options are. After reading many of the comments and thinking back on everything, I think I am gonna do that. I love my wife and I know she's sick, but I'm good to no one if I keep up this pace. Yeah, 100%. Pretty much everybody in the comments are saying not the a-hole. Like, yeah, you're left with pretty much no options. The top comment says, not the a-hole. You sound like you're almost at the end of your tether. 12 to 18-hour workdays are not sustainable for you, and it sounds like she's not doing much around the house. Certainly she's not cooking. Therapy or not, for the past 5 years, she's basically lived a lifestyle where she gets to relax as much as she wants, and it's all subsidized by you. You have my sympathy for that, but let's be clear what your options are here. You can't force her to work, either in the paid workforce or keeping a house for you. You can ask, but you can't force her. All you can do is decide whether you're prepared to live with someone who does not pull their weight in the relationship. If you decide that you can't, then tell her that, not as a threat, but as an ultimatum, simply stating a fact, and you'll find yourself a lawyer. Yeah, and also like this comment says, not the a-hole. Ask her what about your mental and physical health. Also, are you sure the therapist is actually validating everything like this? Sounds a lot like your wife is just saying, but my therapist says, to sort of add weight to what she says, and to accuse you of manipulation is ridiculous. Yeah, and especially if this has been going on for the last 5 years. Am I the a-hole for calling my 8-year-old selfish? I have 3 kids, 7, 8, and 10, and my sister has 2, 7, and 10. We went on vacation together recently, and we took the kids to a zoo that also had a few rides. The kids went on the rides while my sister and I got coffee nearby. We told them to meet us at a certain table when they were done. My 8-year-old came to me much earlier than her siblings and cousins. I asked if the ride scared her, and she said no. She just skipped the lines. I asked her for clarification, and she said there was extra space on the ride. They asked for single riders to come up to the front, so she did that for all 5 rides. I told her the point of going with her siblings and cousins is to have fun with them, and that it was selfish for her to leave them so she could cut the line. I told her I understand why she doesn't have many friends if this is how she acts all the time, and she started to cry and ran to my sister. My sister ended up buying her ice cream and said that I was too harsh. She told my husband, and he's mad at me for speaking to her like that. Am I the a-hole for calling my daughter selfish? Yeah, obviously. What are you mad mean? Yeah, like the top comment says, I would 100% say you the a-hole. The kid's 8. Instead of treating this as a teaching moment, you tell your own child, I get why you have no friends. The hell is wrong with you? And the comment below, also, how about that's awesome that you feel so confident in choosing to go solo? Yeah, mean and negative for no reason. Am I the a-hole for not forcing my son to rename his hamster? So to start this off, my son is 11 and he's been begging for a family pet for a while. I finally gave in when I felt like we were ready to take one on, and also when I felt like he was ready for the responsibility that comes with one. I expected a dog or a cat, but he really wanted a hamster, so we spent a little over a week prepping, helping him study hamster care, and dedicated a sizable spot in our living room for necessities and home. We finally get around to picking one out at the pet shop. He's set on the name Sonic, but the lady ringing us up mentioned that the one he picked out was a girl, and that she could get him a boy if he wanted, and he just lit up and said, that's Amy. And that was that. We took Amy home. This was in March. My sister-in-law found out she was pregnant somewhere around that time, and last month I found out they were having a girl. Basically what happened was they were picking out names, and one of the names they narrowed it down to had Amy as the middle name. I made a joke of something like, hey, we already have an Amy at our house, trying to be funny, but sister-in-law didn't think it was. I didn't think much about it at the time, but a couple of days ago she asked to come by and talk. She started off by saying that the joke I made was in bad taste. I apologized for it, and then she suggested I change the name. I told her I didn't think that would go over well with my son, and then she outright demanded it be changed to whether he likes it or not, because she wasn't going to have a child share the name with a hamster. I agreed to talk it over with my son to see what he thought, and of course he didn't want to. He even thought it was cool that his cousin would share the same name as his hamster. I tried convincing him to rename her Sonic even, or some other Sonic character, but he didn't want that. I explained how sister-in-law feels about this, and he felt a bit hurt because he thought that he upset sister-in-law, but he really didn't want to change the name and didn't understand why they couldn't just share it. Wow, this is not even a problem. And the fact they're making this into an issue is ridiculous. I told my sister-in-law that my son was set on Amy, and she blew up. I'll admit I got a bit defensive and I reacted poorly, but I essentially told her it wasn't a huge deal. It's not like anyone is going to make the connection, and by the time her child is old enough to know her name, Amy the hamster probably won't even be around. She said it was embarrassing because she would always know the connection in her mind. That's your problem. To which I simply told her if it was such a strong reminder of a hamster, then maybe it wasn't a name she should use for her daughter. My brother has told me that I'm being selfish for not forcing my son to pick another name. Oh, get out of here. Sister-in-law obviously thinks I'm an a-hole, and my mum has said the whole thing is childish. So am I the a-hole? No, you're not the a-hole, but yeah, the entire thing is childish 100%. Like this comment says, seems the name Sonic is available, suggests that she call her baby that. And also, it's their cute pet hamster. Like, how is this a negative? Like, you can tell that their son is being positive about it, and they actually see it as a positive that they might share the same name. This could easily be a fun little thing, but they're making it into a problem. Am I the a-hole for telling my family how much my fiance earns after years of them making fun of his job? My family is very well educated and full of professionals, including several doctors and surgeons and dentists, etc. I have a good career and I make a good living. When I met my fiance, he was at my house to supervise a roofing crew the insurance company hired to replace my damaged roof. I instantly fell for him when he pulled up in his truck and couldn't keep my eyes off him for the rest of the day as he gave orders to his men. When we started dating, he was super vague about his job, and I just chalked it up to him being insecure about me having a better career. I didn't care about our income imbalance. When we got serious, we talked about our future plans, and that was when he told me the full extent of his little construction company. I was shocked that his construction earnings is as much as my dad's surgeon salary. Gradually, he took me around to the handful of construction lots and shopping centers that he owns. His rental income combined with his construction earnings is double that of my dad's. He said that few people know about his finances, and he expects me to keep what I know to myself. My parents disapproved of him since the first time I brought him home. My dad coined the term tool boy, and the rest of my family joined in whenever they talk behind my fiance's back. Ew, what? I can't stand people like that. They don't call him that to his face, but instead they make snide remarks. Once my mum said during dinner that they're thinking about hiring someone to mow their lawn, and then turned to my fiance and asked him what he charges. I always try to defend him, and it's a constant battle. It's gotten worse since we're planning our wedding, and the other day my nerves just broke. Yesterday, parents were trying to get me into getting a prenup, and then my dad said, you have to protect your assets just in case Tool Boy decides to go slumming. Yuck, what's wrong with these people? I lost it and I yelled at my parents. During our shouting, I blurted out his earnings and that he makes more than both of them combined combined, and then I stormed out. I told my fiance what happened, but instead of supporting me, he got mad that I told his parents that. I argued that I was defending him, and then we got into an argument. My parents and family are mad at me for keeping secrets. My fiance is mad at me for not keeping secrets. I'm stuck in the middle and I don't know what to do. Yeah, unfortunately, I think it definitely is a you the a-hole situation. Even though the family sounds insufferable, like this comment says, sounds like your husband likes to build relationships on foundations and merits outside of his finances. Meanwhile, your family looks down on anyone they deem lesser earners than themselves. I know whose corner I'd be in. Apologize to your husband and tell your family to stuff it. Sorry, but you're the a-hole. There are plenty of other things you could have said to illustrate how horrible your family was being. You didn't have to throw out numbers. Now, if your family starts acting better, he'll always know that it's on the basis of his earnings, not his character, and husband will always know that your knee-jerk reaction was to be like, but he does make money, rather than who cares what he makes me happy, he takes care of me, he treats me well, we're good partners with the same life goals, we love each other, support that or shut up. Edit, alright, I'll give OP some leeway, but I think there were still better ways to go about this. We're perfectly comfortable and happy with our mutual finances, which are none of your business. Yeah, and I feel like that's enough for today. It's 1,000,000% time to read something wholesome. Mammals both produce milk and have hair. Ergo, a coconut is a mammal. I know you're being facetious, but this is an actual issue with morphology-based phylogeny. Leans over and whispers to the person beside me. What are they talking about? Holds up a plucked chicken. Behold, a man. Yeah, one thing I've learnt from making shorts about Tumblr is the threads on there can be so wholesome and so funny. Happy 21st birthday to my beautiful daughter. Left, Raylan. Yeah, thank you for the clarification, Dad. That's so funny. Client, do you know how to draw a horse? Painter, of course. Oh, that's so cute, but also terrifying at the same time. And also really well done, even though it's not right. I'm so happy they didn't do it right. This is so much better. And once again, thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful time. And if you did, and that wasn't too infuriating or terrifying or frustrating, make sure you like and subscribe, all that fun stuff. And the comment of the day goes to Cindy. I actually worked with a Kevin once. The story is short, so here goes. He quite literally set the break room microwave on fire. He heated up some soup, an unopened sealed can of soup. He first wrapped it up in paper towel so he'd be able to pick up the hot can. It set off the smoke alarm and the microwave was destroyed by the actual raging flames. Wow, so they microwaved a can? Yeah, probably not gonna do that again. Like, I've accidentally put butter in there when there's been a little bit of foil on the lid before, and accidentally made some sparks in the microwave, but not an entire metal can. That's not allowed in the microwave. Thank you guys again for all your support. It means so much to me. As always, make sure you look after yourself and make sure you have a beautiful, amazing rest of your day. And you know what I'm about to say because I say it every single day. Bye!